welcome back to AnimeCons TV. I'm Doug Wilder. You might remember that back in November 2014, Patrick and I recorded an episode where we talked about what it's like to staff a convention, answered kind of some of the frequently asked questions about how to get into staffing, what to expect, some of the experiences you have. And some of the feedback we got was about more specific duties within the convention that we've had. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what I did for Anime Boston and some of this work I still currently do. I used to be what was known as the Facilities Liaison or Facilities Manager. The job title kind of changed bit by bit as my duties and responsibilities kind of evolved over the time. Basically, in the broadest sense, the Facilities Manager or Facilities Liaison is the primary point of contact from the convention staff to the host facility or facilities, such as the hotel and or convention center. I mean, it depends on what venue you have, if you have more than one thing to work with or if you just have one small area. But basically, it's to streamline communication so you don't have 10 staffers trying to talk to 10 people at the thing and just kind of be a central information thing. A lot of this position really comes down to delegation. You're kind of taking stress off of some of the higher level con organizers so they're not dealing with some of the more minutia, fine detail points. And, you help keep other departments within the convention sane because you know what they need and you know how to kind of communicate it with the venues. But at the same time, you're also getting information back from the venues, letting your staff know this is things we can do, this is things we can't do, and working to kind of compromise and find ways to make both groups happy. There's a lot of different duties, and a lot of times it's figuring it out as you go when the position is just starting out. So you'll find your duties and responsibilities evolving over time, but that's about a lot of it. There's a whole bunch of things. I'm just going to go through things as I think of them, and I have a few notes here. Once again, if you have further questions, don't hesitate to email us and get in touch, and I'll be happy to answer them later on. Some of the things that I've done in the past for Anime Boston is I haven't assembled, but I've delivered room layouts to our convention facilities saying, here's how we want this room set up during the convention. Here's where we want all the scenes, where we want the water station, where we want the trash barrel, little things like that. And this helps the convention know this is the room setup we want. It also helps the venues know that this is the layout. It gives them a nice handy guide for what to go off of when they're assembling the room layouts as people load in. You also work on things like figuring out the staff hotel room needs. So if you do things like, if you're one of the conventions that actually takes care of hotel rooms for your staff, you're in touch with the hotel or hotels, giving them the updated list. And this is one thing that changes constantly is who's in what room, everything like that, and making sure that everyone does have the space that's promised to them and things like that. And communicating with the hotel if there's any sort of issue, like someone was checked in the wrong room or they're not on the list. You're on there to kind of rectify that and make sure that it gets taken care of. Other things you can do are making sure that any payments that need to happen before or after the convention are going through. You're in touch with your convention's treasurer to make sure they're writing the check and it's getting delivered on time, things like that. You're also having just kind of face-to-face meetings with the hotel, making sure if your convention has an executive staff, helping them get in touch with them. And sometimes conventions, I know at Anime Boston, for example, we have a large sit-down meeting with most of our executive staff and the higher level management of both the convention center and the hotel we use as just kind of a meet and greet kickoff right before load-in happens, just to kind of attach some faces to the names and stuff. And you also, once again, I mentioned load-in. You're touching base with the convention center as well as the staff to make sure you have a plan for how you're loading in, like when you're going to be arriving, when you can start setting up, and also when you need to be out of the building by and everything like that. So one of the key things is, especially before the convention, is you have to be really good at communicating with your point of contacts at the host venues. Email is always a very good way because you can CC other people that are dealing with it, things like that. But you got to be on top of it, checking your email regularly. Sometimes you have to be available to take a phone call, things like that. And it's a lot of learning as you go. The big thing is never be afraid to ask questions. Make sure you have things right. Talk with both people and things like that. And so now we're going to go a little bit more onto some of the on-site working. I would say the bulk of your responsibilities happen before con, and you're ironing a lot of things out. But you're definitely on duty at the con, and you're kind of an on-call position where people can come to you and say, hey, this is something we need sorted out. And you can get in touch, you talk to the hotel and explain the need. In that way, the staff member that has the issue can sit down, can concentrate on other work they need to do while you get that part rectified and things like that. And a lot of that is, like I said, being on call, and it's thinking on your feet, because something always goes wrong, and how you deal with it can make things better or worse for everybody. So it's a lot of looking at the situation and saying what's going to help everyone have kind of the best experience and make sure that things work for everyone. A word of advice that I would give to anyone that's looking to kind of create a facilities manager role is have set hours. Work with the other members on staff to say, all right, I will make sure I'm around and available from this time to this time during the day, during the convention. Don't make it the whole day. Make sure you get some time to yourself. Me personally, I always say I do 2 panels every year at Anime Boston, and that's kind of my time to do something for me to make sure I'm not working myself ragged during the convention. But while I'm away, or when I'm going to bed early in the evening because I'm getting up early in the morning, there's a backup person who can fill in. Maybe not do the entire job, but knows enough that they can fill in, and knows how to discern that if it is something that they need to contact me and actually wake me up in the middle of the night or something. They know that it's only going to be something that's really important. And like I said, you have ways to contact you. Anime Boston has radios. I also use my cell phone. And I'm still checking my email during the convention, and it can get a little much when all three of those going off at once, and you're trying to talk to a person at the same time. So you have to take a little bit time to prioritize. The big thing I would say about that is be careful who you give your contact information to. Only really give it to staff members that are going to know how to contact you when they need you. Not for every little thing. There are some things that you should be delegating or aren't really your responsibility, because as facilities manager, you're going to have a lot going on during the convention. If you're going to give it to the facilities, which you definitely should, make sure it's clear that this is only for their use. I've seen more than a few times conventions, staff members will give their contact information to, say, the hotel front desk, saying, hey, if there's an issue with staff hotel rooms, don't be afraid to call me. And then the message doesn't get relayed that that's only for the hotel staff, and suddenly a mother is calling trying to find their kid, and the hotel staff is giving that information out, your contact information, to that angry mother, and you're trying to deal with other things, and it's just not a good situation. So if you're going to give out your contact information, make sure you're really making it clear who should be contacting you and when, and things like that. So that's a lot of kind of the finer details. There's, like I said, it's a lot of thinking on your feet. One of the reasons I really enjoy doing facilities work, especially for me personally, I've often said, is that I get to kind of work with every single department at the convention in one regard or another. If it's guest relations, I'm helping make sure they've got everything set up for any VIP needs that are taken care of by the hotel. security, I'm talking with them about what are our security plans and making sure they're shared with the convention center and the hotel. I'm just thinking other things. Dealer's room, I'm making sure they know the load-in plan and everything like that, and that we're on the same page for when vendors can start. Technical operations, which is like lights and AV and everything like that. I'm making sure we know when they're going to start loading in, when they're going to get ready, and everything like that, and what rooms we get locked up at the end of the night because we have valuable equipment that we're not keeping the staff on over the night. So there's a lot of different things going on, but it's one of the things that I really enjoy is that I'm not just seeing one area of the convention. I'm seeing a whole lot of different areas, and that's what makes it really fun. Is you get to learn a much more broader range of things that the convention's working on, and it sounds silly, but you get to know a lot more staffers like that, and you get to make a lot more friends on staff. As long as you're doing your job, you'll meet a lot of neat people who really do want to work together and stuff, and it's a really good feeling to see that you helped put this on even more because you helped figure out something on your feet. So that's a bit of a broad version of what it means to kind of be the convention facilities manager, and it's usually, like I said, it's usually kind of a delegated job. Within Anime Boston, it's underneath the operations division, but depending on how a convention's structured, it can be in a different area or things like that. And it's not usually an executive position, but it's very in close contact with that. So I would say that's kind of a good way. Also, if you're looking to grow within a convention, it's a good position to kind of see more of what's going on and work with them in greater detail and kind of see what everybody does and find out how you can be helpful. So that's about it. If you have more questions about what it means to be a facilities manager at a convention or any other questions related to staffing, Patrick and I have been with Anime Boston pretty much since the beginning, as well. Patrick's also done work with PortCon Maine. We've done a bunch of stuff, and we love talking about staffing. So if you have more questions, there's a number of different ways to get in touch with us. There's always our email address, podcast@animecons.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 762-ADEQUATE. That's 762-233-7828. And of course, we're also on Google+, Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.